So, been in business this year, nearly 17 years. So I just started after the Millennium Bug year, as I said, and I was talking to people about that, saying a lot of things started getting me into the way that I should be doing this sort of thing, because there was a lot of people getting scammed, and well, not scammed so much, but people who go to like PC World, buying PCs, and then if they had a problem, there's no support. They wouldn't want to know you. So I started doing this while I was doing another job. Did it for 2 years part-time, and went full-time. And the thing is, there was a lot of people who just didn't have no support at all. So if you can go to their house and fix the PCs, why not? You know, so and it worked out to be a very good business. Most of my customers are home users. I do some small businesses. You know, I've done a little bit at your place, definitely, and I usually look at people who only got up to about 10 workstations. That's about as much as I'll go. Because really I think after that it's just too much, you know, and you can put your eggs into one basket. You don't want somebody relying on you relying on them so much, so I'd rather stick down that way. Sort of home users I use, as you know, the way technology's gone now, there's a lot more people working from home. A lot of people don't have IT support for their businesses, so they rely on people like me to keep their PCs running smoothly. And that can be quite a helpful thing. Also, you've got then the pensioner side of people who rely on technology. They don't really want to use it, but they have to, because everything's now going computer way. Their families have moved away, so they may want to use Skype and things like this. So they don't really know how to use those sort of things. So people like me can help them sort those sort of things out. And there's also people who are restricted. They can't get out of houses and they want to use it for online shopping. It's their only way of doing things. So, you know, and, you know, I try and keep their PCs from getting, you know, spyware, viruses, that sort of thing. And very popular thing now, a lot of people asking me to now come back once a year, you know, just do an annual service, because even though you may see you think your PCs are running okay, they're not always running so smoothly. You get somebody like me who can come in there, I can find out things that are running in the background and, you know, get it running a bit smooth and make sure there's no infiltration of, you know, I'm sure you've seen on your internet, you'll get bars underneath it. You think, what are they? They've suddenly appeared because you sort of download something and suddenly this bit of software appears, and people don't know how to get rid of them, and they are quite hard to get rid of sometimes. So, you know, I can help do that sort of thing. I can do security checks. As I said, a couple of people got scammed last week, and their bank sort of say you need somebody to come and have your PC connected, sort of checked over to make sure its security is okay before they'll let you use it for online banking, this sort of thing again. So if you know people like that, you know, I can do those sort of things. I'm very reasonable in price. I'm sure people know. Some people say I'm too cheap, but, you know, you've got to be competitive. But let me just sort of think. Yeah, so sort of work I do, just an example. I mean, most things to do with PCs I can do. I mean, is mostly general problem solving, malware, virus removals. You know, I do PCs to order. I did one for earlier this year. It was quite a good project for me because it's a guy who wants to do a lot of video editing, photo editing. He had a nice budget. He said, look, you know, I'm willing to pay this. He lives with his mum and he's sort of thinking this is his only hobby. So he ended up having a £1,000 machine, but it's quite nice to have this, you know, looking into that. But I can, you know, research, make sure it's the right thing for you. Because the thing, you go to PC World, you've got this one, and that's it. You don't know what's in it or nothing like that. Where somebody like me can just buy all the parts individually, assemble it, and you get what you need. And that's what I try and do. Yeah, and of course, as I said, there's also the thing of general servicing, internet access things. You know, just things. I have people just call me and say, "Oh, I've just had a new modem, Mark. Can you come and fit it up for me?" People don't they forget about they got online printers, this sort of thing, and when you change your modem, your printers don't work because you've got to have that all connected back to your new hub, or else everything just stops working. So just little things like that. A lot of people find that quite hard to do. I know people like yourselves probably know those sort of things are easy to do.
Not necessarily.
But you know, there's a lot of people who struggle with those sort of things. So if they can have somebody come around, just do an hour. I do those things usually quite quickly, so then I just check the PCs over them. I always try and make sure I stay there for the hour so they get value for money. Because sometimes you can do the job they want in about 10 to 15 minutes sometimes. But so you just make sure they get their value for money out of it. But I'm sure everybody's got friends who aren't too au fait with that sort of thing. I can even, you know, people have laptops, they buy a new laptop, they want all their stuff transferred. I can do all that, make sure it's in the right. When somebody like PC World do it, they charge you about 40 or 50 pounds to do it. And all they do literally is just get all your files, not always the files that you need, put them in one folder and stick it on your desktop. And the thing is, and then they go, well, where's all my files? And then they find them all there. But I will actually put them back into your pictures, your documents and everything else, so it'll work exactly how it did before. So it's really much to say, get it done properly, instead of actually have somebody just chuck a file on there and don't really talk to you about what you really want and everything else. I'll sort that. And also you get a lot on new PCs that are bought from PC One, place like that, you get a lot of trial software that if you don't get rid of it, it will actually cause some problems, because what a lot of people do, they go, McAfee is usually a good trial one that you get on a lot of PC World PCs. And people think once the trial's over, oh, I'll go and get another one. They then put a new virus program on the system, they forget to take the other one off, suddenly their PC don't work. They won't get on the internet. So you've got to make sure these sort of things are taken away so that it's done correctly. So, you know, I can do all that sort of thing. So it's just simple things that maybe to all you lot think it's quite easy, but there's a lot of people who don't find it so simple to do. So if you know people, spread the word around that I'm very easy to get that sort of thing done for them and make it a lot more comfortable and easy to transfer from one thing to another. Okay? So one of the things I really want to talk about is, I'm sure if people know what NAS devices are, NAS, you know, the big network storage devices. Well, over the last few years, I've mentioned it in 10 seconds, you know, the 30 seconds and this sort of thing about it, but they are becoming very popular now because there's a lot of people who just still got old servers and this sort of thing. They don't need them. The only real reason you need a server in a place these days is if you've got a lot of databases and mail shots that need to be done. If you're just literally using a PC in a small business just to have all your files shared from that PC to all the other PCs, you don't need a server to do that. You're better off having something like one of these NAS devices, because the problem is when you've got a PC sharing all your files, if that goes down and you haven't backed up or anything, you've lost all your files. And not only that, it could just go down because the operating system stops working. You can't get into your files then. Where one of these NAS devices, I'll just give you an example. I'll use Synology ones. I'm sure you've seen like that. Well, literally.
What's the NAS stand for?
Oh, you are asking at this time.
Oh,
There you
there
go. Thank you. But something like that, I mean, I always use a 2-drive bay system. So what that means is that if a hard drive goes down in it, it will actually keep all your files in the other one. So you never lose your files. So it's quite a good way to get things done. And the thing is with them, they also have their own software with them. So it's like having a mini computer in a little box. So literally they have their own sort of interface that you go on the web. You can set up protocols. You can actually have where some files you won't let one of your users that work on the workstation see, and others can. You can put passwords on things. So it's very much like a server, but it's a lot easier to use. And the other thing is you can do remote access. That's the other thing you can do with it. I've got one of those little electrician companies. They've got a place in Daventry and they've also got a place in Rugby. They used to use the server got compromised by one of these scams, and they said, right, I think this is the right time to get rid of it. And they got one of these in now because they need a bit more quick, because the remote access is good with these things, but they're not brilliant. But you can buy a bit of software to make it work a lot better. And I got a lifetime certificate for £50 for them. And they can literally, it's just like having a server communicating with Daventry, so they can still access their files over there, no problem at all. So they are very handy to have. And what I've done to a lot of the customers who got these now is with the the ransomware stuff that's been around recently, you can plug another external drive into the back. So what I tell them to do is literally have that backing up in the middle of the night off the actual NAS, and then unplugging it through the day. So then they've always got another secondary version of the backup. So you can set a literally automated backup going through that. So literally you're really foolproof then, because you know these ransomware things are pretty brutal. I mean, I had somebody last year just literally clicked an email. They had a NAS drive in there and they didn't really know much about this side of thing. And within half an hour, it only infected that machine, but it also infected the NAS drive. It literally encrypted everything on it. So very quick. Well, you look what happened with the NHS. It took them a few hours for it to go through the whole system, but it did. And so I think, you know, small businesses, home users, they're very good for too. See, because with home users, you can put all your music on there, your movies and everything else. You can then put an app on your phones or your tablets, and you can literally stream everything to them, or you can put it straight to your TV. So.
Did you say the main computer and the NAS drive was corrupted?
Yes. Yeah. That's why I'm saying I would put this hard drive in place. You know, that's what I'm trying to say. That if you want to be very thorough-proof, you know, I mean, the normal scenario before ransomware was around, you have one of these sort of things. You know, like. As I said, if you have your PC just sharing all your files, if a PC goes down, you've lost everything. Where if a drive goes down one of these, you've still got another drive in there that's shadowing everything you got. So all you do is you put another drive in, it's like they call it a RAID system in there. So literally once you put the new drive in, it writes it all back to the new one, and you've always got a backup of everything. So you never lose anything. So they are very good. I mean, a terabyte version of one of those, you're talking about 230 quid. What's not bad really when you think you can put, I mean, if you want a bigger drives, it's going to cost you more, but you buy the actual device and then you add the drives to it. So it's up to you how big you want the drives to be. But they're very good for homes too, because a lot of people, you know, photos, you know, you can have, I'm sure you use something like that, don't you, Simon? Yeah, the Synology, they're really good, aren't they? So, you know, they are very good. I got a guy who loves his music, and he didn't have any way of actually keeping it. He kept it all on his laptop, and he couldn't find any way of playing it through his this big Wi-Fi system that could Bluetooth it through. And literally, now he's got his little tablet that just uses his app to go to this system, and it then plays it all through there, through the NAS. So he keeps everything all on there. So it's well worth using. So they're good for home using. And the good thing is, if you're on holiday, if you need to access any files, you can remote access that and you can get your files. So they are very good for that sort of thing. So if you want to work away from home, they do the job.
Don't listen to that, Nicholas. Don't listen to that bit.
Work away from home.
So I just thought I'd just sort of just go on about that drive and a little bit about myself. I think they are very good things to have. I'm putting them into a lot of places that I think do need them, and you know, a sort of thing. I'll never advise somebody to get something if I don't think they need it. But if you see some people with a PC that's probably been 5 or 6 year old with a Vista on there or something like that, and they've still got all their main work files on there, you know, you don't want them to keep, you know, that's going to tip over in the end. So I'd advise people to get things like that. So, as I say,
We're going to get hit again by this ransomware malarkey. Is that going to be?
I think that one was aimed at the National Health, but they are versions around. As I said, last year I had 2 people at the end of last year got compromised by it. Literally, it's the usual common sense thing. The majority come through emails. If you click a link on an email, bang, it's got you. So just look at where the email address is. You were saying earlier on, Nicola, about HMRC ones. You know, look at the email address where it's come from. If it doesn't look like the official one, it's like got an extra stamp before it says HMRC.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's not going to be from them. And people are, you know, from friends, because a lot of times your address books get compromised. And then it's sent out and it's like, hi, look at this link. And all you got is just a link. And you know your friends aren't going to write it like that, so just delete it. And just talk to them instead and say, look, you do realise you've been compromised. But
Well, they have to find the people that have done this.
very hard, because I say this to somebody the other day. I would say it's a scary thing to think, but I should think there's a good percentage of computers in the world that have actually got some part. There is something on there that these people bounce the IP address off, so they can never get traced. So it's pretty evil stuff, really. But you're never going to get those sort of people very easily. But any questions?
Thank God for GCHQ, just shows how good they are.
Any questions?
The box I've got, is that similar? My hard drive box on the desk.
That's just an external drive. So literally, I've set you up a backup program that will just run that as a backup. That's like a single drive. That's the typical external drive thing that a lot of people use. I'm not saying don't use those, but I'm just saying if you want something to, you're a bit worried about losing your thing and you don't want to think about you have to keep doing backups all the time. You know, when you're doing continue, you know, like you're just at home, you're just using your normal work files and photos and documents. It's not so. I'm talking about small companies that are worried about the files.
Yeah, I mean, I can mine for 1 hour each week and then disconnect it.
Yeah.
The job done, and it's not connected to anything.
But if you like sort of saying, showing your photos to friends and family that come around, sometimes it's quite good to have something like that. If you've got a smart TV, the smart TV will hook onto the NAS and you can literally plug it, you know, just get to the drive and you can show your photos on your TVs, that sort of thing.
My hardwired.
No, wireless. You don't need to be, as long as it's networked into your system, your network, your NAS drives on your network too, so you literally find it as a drive on your smart TV, and you can then bring your photos onto that. Some TVs will actually have apps that you can download to actually hook onto it properly, but you can find it on the TVs. You can, you know, show your photos, play music for your TV if you want. If you've got good sound, most TVs got built-in.
You know, you're talking about sharing photos and things like that. Could they attach nasty things to photos, as it were? Is that a method of sending
if it's your
stuff
personal drives, I wouldn't say no. I think it's more through emails, that sort of thing. The days of viruses, I mean, you do get viruses, but I think viruses are the minimal thing now. I think it's sort of spyware, malware, rootkits, this sort of stuff on your system, so they can click when you're clicking on websites. There's things that a lot of people are very impatient these days, so people click things very quick and they don't realise there's something else coming up that they've clicked on. Suddenly you'll have another site come up in front of you thinking, I mean, I'm sure you've heard of people actually having things that literally take over your whole desktop. It's just like a website. You can't get rid of it because there's no close button and nothing. And they go, how can we get out of this? The old classic one was the Metropolitan Police ones. You ever heard of them? I've said about it last 10 minutes I did here. Where you get literally on a laptop, you got a camera that it takes. They used to just be a picture of an old policeman on there, but now they actually take your photo, and it comes and it just takes over your whole screen, and it goes, you've been downloading, porn sites and illegal files and sort of thing. If you don't pay this fine, we've locked your computer up. You pay this fine and you can get it back. That is a bit. There is a way around those ones, but the proper ransomware is I don't think there's still any way you can get rid of it. You have to just keep your PC up to date. It's as simple as that. I know not many people like doing the Windows updates and these sort of things, but if you keep your system up to date, you've got a good chance of not getting that sort of stuff. That's pretty much what it is. I know Microsoft brought a fix out for that NHS one a couple of days after. So, if you got your Windows updates up to date, you'll be fine. Yeah. And of course, don't click any silly links on the email.
Any question anybody else has got it, but when I go into HSBC Bank, on the details, up on the left-hand side comes a Firefox box. Do you want to save your password for this address?
Yeah.
And it's a pain, because I'm not going to save a password for my bank account.
The new Firefox thing is it is a bit over. It does ask you to save even when you've done PIN changes and all sorts of things. It is. I find that a little bit too much, but still like it as a browser. Sorry?
Can I get rid of it?
I think there's a setting in there you can stop it asking to save everything. In the security, in the actual settings of the browser, you can stop it.
What about the? There's quite a bit on the news about voice recognition for passwords and things, and not being that secure. Do you
What?
think?
Computer
For-
voice
No,
recognition?
HSBC.
Is it banks? Is it?
I must admit, I've not heard of that one. I must admit. I won't go. I mean, in voice recognition software, I mean, it's getting a lot better. We used to talk like an
But it
American.
must be still fairly
sound
primitive.
right. They are getting a lot better because I know some people use it because they can't type very quick. They use Dragon software. I think a lot of people do, and it has got a lot better. But you used to have to talk like a proper American to actually make it understand you. Or else it ends up talk, you know, putting out loads of stuff that nothing to do with what you're
Yeah,
actually
this
saying.
is instead of a pin. It's
Oh,
like
right.
that, you know, for accessing.
I'm talking about on the radio the other day.
Yeah, the other day.
The other day, a couple of people who were twins were.
Yeah.
You see, I wouldn't,
Non-identical
they feel-
twins.
I wouldn't trust that sort of
And
stuff.
one, well, obviously spoke similar, but
Yeah.
one was able to access the other person's bank
Bank
details.
Sounds good.
You see, I know a lot of people go on.
I just need to get a twin.
I know a lot of people go on about online banking that people won't use it on their computers, but there's this scam and that scam. But to be honest, the majority of scams with online banking, majority I'd say, is that it's been compromised at the bank through people's cards. It's not anything to do with what you've done on your computer. They always blame your computer for it. But it's a lot of times it's the bank's been compromised, not your computer. So I think the bank systems are pretty good, to be honest. You know, I think the ones, I mean, I've got a Lloyd's one, you know, got a little, you put your card in the little thing and you put a pin in each time. I mean, that's pretty foolproof, I would have thought. You know. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, that's good.